remember, maybe I'm too old, okay? But I do remember when my grandfather needed to repair his old barn. And a bunch of his buds showed up with their saws and hammers and things, and they just helped. And I realize we live in a different world now, but the idea of you using what you've got to help somebody else, because let me ask you a question. Do you think the government's going to do that? Okay, I'm running for the Senate so that I can go and change some of that. But isn't there an old saying that goes, the scariest thing that can be said is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help? Okay. I don't think that has to be true forever. I think that there are people in government who've been dedicated and serving people for their entire lives. In the state of New Hampshire, where I'm running for the U.S. Senate, before I ever ran for the Senate, like 2 years ago, before I was even thinking about it, I ran around to all of the Housing and Urban Development offices, HUD, and I ran around to all the other social services offices for about 3 weeks. And I just said, thank you for doing what you do. One of the women started crying because nobody had thanked her in 30 years of her doing her job. Now, I think there's something wrong with her boss. Well, actually, maybe she was the boss. But what I'm saying is that she'd been doing the work for that long, and nobody stopped to say thank you. It was like, here, give me that, and then they left, right? I told her, hey, don't feel bad. It happened to Jesus. He healed a bunch of people, and then only one of them ever turned around to say thank you. You know, and I'm a long way from Jesus, okay? I'm just out here doing the best I can. And my father hated politics, hated politicians, because in his time, they were as useful as they are now. But the government has all of these tools, and what I discovered when I was going through the Library of Congress is that they have studied everything. No, I mean everything. I don't mean they missed anything. I mean crazy shit, like the sex life of gay seagulls. Go look it up. I'm not making this up. Go look it up. They've studied it. Everything. Emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, family, intimacy, social, occupational, educational. They have studied not just those 12 areas. I'm talking about every little nuance and grain of sand in that whole thing. Well, think about it, okay? So, our country's been running for 250 years, but Congress has been there, I think, for 230. Somebody can check me on that. But 230 years. And in that amount of time, there's been like close to 500 people there. Maybe 400 in the beginning, but definitely more than 500 now. So, and somebody goes, well, maybe we ought to look at this. Well, and they didn't just ask me. No, they went out and found the world's experts. Absolute experts. Most of them in the United States, but some of them from other parts of the world. And they studied that exact thing. Your tax dollars paid for it, and any of that today would be a multi-million-dollar study. Maybe it wasn't in 1790, okay? But in today's dollars, it would be millions. So your tax dollars, your ancestors' tax dollars, paid for this. Do you know how much of that they've implemented? According to the GAO, those studies that we've paid gotta be trillions for, 1.7%. 1 out of 100, 0.7%. Holy crap! Why'd you even look? Okay, well, the reason why they looked is that they wanted to stand for the photo op, get their picture in the paper, and say, see, we care. But if you go back and watch old episodes of West Wing, go back and watch old episodes of West Wing. I think there were 7 seasons. I don't know. But they were talking about exactly the same crap that we're doing now. And where they got their ideas for the scripts for that show was from the newspapers. So we're working with the same crap. Okay, so how long have people been concerned with tabletop issues? You know why why they call them that? Because people talk about it across the table every time. So when did they invent tables? Go ahead, I'll wait. When did they invent tables? Yeah, a long time ago. And so we're still talking about it. So when a politician runs for office, what do they talk about? Those issues. That's a guy from, I think, South Carolina or something. Maybe, no, Alabama. And he said, it's the economy, stupid. When it's a well-known national pundit, Carville, that was his name, Carville. He had said, it's the economy, stupid. Well, we're still dealing with that. We're still dealing with that, and we're still dealing with that. There are other pundits. There are other campaign people, other campaign managers who tell candidates not to promise anything. Not to promise anything. Really? Okay, well, I'm not a politician. I am just running for office. So if you go to my platform, there are 9 things that I know that I can do. And I am pledging to you that not only am I going to do them, is that you get to watch me do them just like you're watching me now. Yeah. I'm going to have a live camera on me as often as I can legally be allowed. Okay, now, they have rules about this in the Senate, but they're rules, they're not laws. So I'm not planning on being their buddy-buddy. I'm planning on getting something done. And there are 9 things, and if you go to my site, which is harrisforsenate.com, you can see what I'm all about. Okay, there are 9 things that I know I can get done. How do I know that? You remember when I was talking a little bit ago about how they passed it and they stood for it? Well, they accidentally funded these 9 things. But nobody has had the cojones to walk over and turn the key. Guess what I'm going to do? I need to negotiate some traffic here. So, I want you to think about that. So, how long has anything that a politician has done directly benefited you? I realize there's a lot of people watching this from all over the country, but perhaps you should go to my website too. And you can contribute, because do you want another one of those water asses in there that don't get anything done? And let me explain to you what I mean by that. They tore off 1/3 of a building that you and your ancestors paid for. The White House, the East Wing. They tore that off. And maybe you think that's a good idea, but the idea is that they didn't ask.
Merge onto I-93 South, New Hampshire 101 West.
And if I had been a half a mile down like Congress was when they were doing it, I would have went and laid in front of those tractors if I had to. I would have pulled them out of the damn seats and said, no, you're not doing this. Would I have gotten arrested? Probably. But at least I would have slowed down the process enough that maybe that most of the building would still be there. As it is right now, there's a giant hole in the ground where so that he
In half
can
a mile,
allegedly build.
Use the right 2 lanes to take the exit toward I-293 North.
Oh, I guess I have to take an exit.
Use the right 2 lanes to take the exit toward I-293 North.
Okay. I got it. Ta-da. See?